Today's Steelers Talk video is presented by Rex MD. Get 90% off, which comes out to about $2 per dosage when you use our link at rexmd.com/chat. And welcome in to Steelers Talk, Yinzers. I am your host, Jack Sperry. And on today's show, I'm going to be doing a little bit of myth busting, all right? So I got four kind of narratives surrounding four players and coaches around the Pittsburgh Steelers that I just think are untrue. They bother me, and I just want to address them here on the show with y'all here on YouTube. But first, make sure you click that subscribe button, because here on Steelers Talk, we try to give you guys the most comprehensive fan experience on the Pittsburgh Steelers on the platform. So what does that include? That includes free and daily Steelers content here on the channel, absolutely for free every single day. And then also during the Steelers schedule this year, all 17 games, we're going to be covering live for you here at Chat Sports. And then also, we have a weekly live show every single Wednesday. And of course, today, we're recording this on Tuesday. So that means tomorrow is the Steelers Talk live show. Do not miss it. 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Chugs and I are going to be talking about the latest news and rumors surrounding the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hope to see you there. All right, now let's get into some of these moves that Omar Khan made yesterday, because there's some very interesting kind of maneuvers, okay, that the Steelers are making right now. So before we get into these narratives that I want to debunk, let's go over what they did yesterday. So they signed two players. Linebacker Nick Kwiatkowski is on his way to Pittsburgh. And, you know, it's definitely exciting to see the Steelers get another linebacker, add some depth to that room. They also signed a long snapper, Rex Senahara. And then also they have released wide receiver Anthony Miller. The team has not officially announced that just yet, but Anthony put something on Twitter the other day, or actually yesterday, where he said, "Thank you, Pittsburgh," with a little black heart. So it's looking like that he is going to be the casualty there, because the Steelers signed two players. They only had 89 spots on the roster filled, so they got to cut somebody. It's looking like that player is going to be Anthony Miller, which I know a lot of people really liked Anthony. They wanted him on the team. He was a 2022 camp standout, but it's looking like he's going to be a free agent here moving forward. So now let's get into some myth busting here, where I got four Steelers myths that I am going to bust for you right now here on Steelers Talk. And the first myth that I want to go over pertains to Kenny Pickett. Now, I've been somebody that's been critical of Kenny Pickett's pocket presence in his rookie season. I've been critical of KP's pocket presence ever since he was at Pitt, back when he was in college, okay? So this is a recurring problem. This isn't a new problem, but every time I say this, I get people in the comments and on Twitter telling me, "But Jack, the offensive line was just trash last year. He was running for his life." But that's not exactly the case, okay? So you break down how the Steelers' offensive line did last year. So Football Outsiders has a stat called adjusted sack rate, which kind of gives you a percentage of the sacks that were on the offensive line, etc. It shows you how good in pass protection the offensive line was. And last year they ranked 12th. So, I mean, that's not top 10. That's not fantastic, but that's not running for his life type of numbers there, okay? So Kenny Pickett, it definitely shows on film, too, that Kenny was leaving clean pockets, and you could definitely see that based on the fact that he was 35th in the league last year in time to throw. So that 12th in the league mark in adjusted sack rate shows that he had the time, and because of that longer time to throw, that shows that he scrambles a ton, he leaves clean pockets, and that's not good for the Steelers offense, because that's not a sustainable way to play quarterback in the National Football League. But I want to be clear here, okay? Although pocket presence is one of the hardest things for a quarterback to learn, right? It's one of those things where you see it in a college quarterback and you say, this guy's going to have a hard time fixing that, because it's just kind of comes down to instincts. If you don't like pressure in your face, it's really hard to learn to like pressure in your face, or get comfortable with it is probably a better way to put that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that Kenny Pickett can't improve in that regard. I'm certainly hoping that in year two he gets better in this respect. So now my verdict on Kenny Pickett here is that instead of saying it's on the offensive line, it's the offensive line's fault for Kenny Pickett's skittishness in the pocket. It's on Kenny Pickett, all right? This is something that he needs to get better at. He needs to own it. And as Steelers fans, we need to be objective in our analysis here and say that it is on Kenny Pickett to improve in this regard. It's not on the offensive line. The offensive line was fine last year in pass protection, at least according to Football Outsiders. But man, I really am excited to see what Kenny Pickett can do here in year two. All right, guys, I got a couple more myths to bust with y'all in here just in a second. But first, let's have a word from our sponsor at Rex MD. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish you had a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you're not alone in that, and that's why I'm excited to tell you about our sponsor, RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. RexMD offers an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the United States, so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to ED, head over to rexmd.com/chat and start your consultation today. Take advantage of their best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and only pay $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. Go to rexmd.com/chat for this limited time deal. Starter packs of generic Viagra and Cialis are available to our listeners to get started. Again, that's rexmd.com/chat for up to 90% off. Thank you to RexMD for sponsoring today's video. All right, on to myth number 2 here. And this one particularly irks me because I see it all the time. It's the idea that Diontae Johnson is grossly overrated and that he has a serious drop problem. Every time that I hear somebody saying why the Steelers should trade Diontae Johnson, they always bring up the drops. But here's the thing with Diontae, man. He doesn't have a drop problem. He was about league average last year in drop rate last year at 4.8. Okay, now sometimes they come at really bad times, right? Sometimes he drops a pass on third down when it would have been a first down if he would have caught it, right? Sometimes it really sticks in your mind when he drops a pass, but overall his drop percentage is 65th among wide receivers, which is just about league average, okay? So that's not like a serious issue that Diontae has in his game. And he also had 45 first downs last season, which was tied for 27th in the National Football League. And out of all ball carriers last year, there's 508 of them last year. That's 27th in the league, okay? So that's really high up there. That's like the top 5 percentile of wide receivers and running backs last year. Okay, so he is really, really good at getting past the sticks. He was a godsend for Kenny Pickett in the second half of the 2022 campaign. And then if you watch the film, I mean, he's just cooking number 1 cornerbacks time and time again in man coverage. He is one of the best route runners in the National Football League. This narrative that Diontae Johnson stinks and that the Steelers should get rid of him is just absolutely asinine. Now, he's not a true number 1 guy because he doesn't have the best body control in the world. He doesn't have the best hands in the world, but, you know, he is a good wide receiver. He's actually really, really good. So, you know, the lack of production last year was kind of an anomaly for me. You know, no touchdowns last year. I think you can probably chalk that up mostly to the fact that the Steelers' offense and the play calling was just terrible, and then the quarterback play just wasn't that good. Steelers receivers last year just had 5 receiving touchdowns last year. That was last in the National Football League. That just simply cannot happen. Kenny Pickett needs to improve in that regard in the red zone. Plus, the Steelers really shifted to a run-heavy offense in the second half of the season, so that took away some production. Plain and simply, guys, Diontae Johnson is arguably a top 15 wide receiver in the National Football League right now, and he's probably a top 5 route runner. He is that good. And for me, I think that he's very underrated when it comes to Steelers fans. There's a big swath of Steelers fans that think this guy stinks. But let me know what you guys think about DJ down in the comments section. But give me an O if you think he's overrated, or if you think he's underrated. If you agree with me here, give me a U down in the comments section. All right, the next myth to go over here is that Alex Highsmith was only good in 2022 because TJ Watt was on the other side drawing double teams. All right, this is just statistically untrue. This is a false narrative. The Steelers are one of the best teams in the National Football League at putting guys on the line of scrimmage, forcing the offense into one-on-one matchups with the guys that they want to have those one-on-one matchups with. So TJ Watt actually gets a ton of one-on-one matchups because Terrell Austin and Mike Tomlin scheme their way into them. And you look at the overall double team rate last year, they are almost identical. Watt was at 0.13 and Highsmith was at 0.12. Now, I would say that Watt is more effective when he gets double teamed. He's actually much more effective, which is why I wouldn't classify Highsmith as like a true dynamic, elite number 1 type of guy. But like Mike Tomlin says, this guy is an elite Robin. 52 pressures in 2022, which was tied for 22nd in the NFL. This guy can really get after quarterbacks. The missed tackle rate is another thing. That's the one thing that kind of concerns me about his game. He's not a truly great run defender at this point in his career, but when it comes to getting after quarterbacks, the numbers do not lie when it comes to Alex Highsmith. 14.5 sacks last year, led the Steelers by kind of a pretty large margin, to be quite frank with you. And then you got 5 forced fumbles, really good as well, and 12 tackles for loss, 63 total. Here's the thing, guys. Alex Highsmith is a really, really good player. Even with TJ Watt off the field, he is still a very effective rusher. He had 24 pressures with Watt away with an injury in the first half of 2022. So Highsmith is absolutely somebody that I would classify as an elite Robin, kind of a lower level Batman. Like if he went to a team with no pass rush, they would certainly want Alex Highsmith as their number one pass rusher. But with a team like the Steelers, where you're already paying TJ Watt a ton of money, right? Number one in the National Football League type of money, Alex Highsmith is an excellent Robin, and I think a deal is going to get done. I think he's going to get extended this offseason. So let me know right now what you think about Alex Highsmith. Is he a number one edge rusher in the National Football League? Give me a 1 if you think yes, or give me a 2 if you don't think he's a number one and that he's just a normal guy. And the final myth I want to bust for you guys here on the show is that Mike Tomlin is an overrated head coach that should be fired because the Steelers are being held back by Mike Tomlin and they'll never win a Super Bowl with him again. And I just think this is complete bullcrap, man, plain and simply. Maintaining a consistent standard of winning, creating a winning culture, and maintaining that is extremely difficult. In today's NFL, not many guys are able to do it, and Mike Tomlin has done that, and still, many Steelers fans want this guy fired. He has never had a losing season in 16 years, guys. That is absolutely incredible. And then the overall win percentage is 62.5 throughout his career. That's including playoffs, which is 6th in the NFL right now, and that's 4th if you don't count Kevin O'Connell, who was a first-year guy last year, and Nick Sirianni, who was in his second year, and then it's 22nd all time. I mean, he has a higher win percentage than Bill Cowher. All right, a lot of the people that want to fire Mike Tomlin say that he's completely inferior to Bill Cowher. He's got a higher winning percentage. All right, so I'm looking at Mike Tomlin and what he brings to the table for this organization. He always gets the most out of his teams, right? The final years of Big Ben's career. Big Ben could barely throw it 20 yards down the field by the end of the season, all right? And he got the team to the playoffs time and time and time again. He's had multiple top 5 elite defenses throughout his career, and he's just plain awesome. Now, there's some arguments that I want to address here that I would say are bad arguments. Number one is that he only has 1 Super Bowl title, and they like to say it was just Bill Cowher's team. But here's the thing, all right? If you're a bad head coach, you do not win Super Bowls, plain and simple. You just don't accidentally win a Super Bowl as an NFL head coach. The greatest of all time, Bill Belichick, this is what he has to say on the importance of coaching in the NFL. Good players cannot overcome bad coaching. They just can't. And I completely agree with Bill Belichick here that this is absolutely important. You have to have a good head coach in this league in order to win a Super Bowl, no matter how talented your roster is, because if you're not putting your guys in positions to succeed, they're not. That's the way it works, and Mike Tomlin, he certainly earned his chops there with that 1 ring that he currently has. Then another bad argument that I hear about Mike Tomlin is that he's a defensive head coach. We need an offensive head coach because only offensive head coaches succeed in the National Football League, and that's just simply not true. I think that offensive head coaches do better generally, but if you take a look at the top 15 head coaches in the league right now and their win percentages, 6 of them are defensive head coaches. So it's certainly not impossible. Of course, the greatest head coach of all time, and Bill Belichick, has one of the highest win percentages ever. He's got 7 rings to his name, for God's sakes. It's certainly not impossible for a head coach on the defensive side of the ball to succeed. Now, it's a little bit more difficult to find consistent offensive coordinators because, like Mike Tomlin showed, if you got a good offensive coordinator in Bruce Arians, you're going to lose them, right? If once you have a good offensive coordinator, they're going to get a head coaching job, so it's more difficult to sustain the offensive side of the ball if you are the Pittsburgh Steelers with a defensive head coach. But Mike Tomlin is a great leader of men. He's shown throughout the years that he can build a winning program. That's exactly what he's done here. And then finally, the playoff record, right? 8-9 throughout his career. Which is below 500. It's the only thing about his career record that's below 500 at this point. And, people look at that and they say, Tomlin's just not very good in the playoffs. He can get to the playoffs, but he can't win. First of all, he's proven that he can win. He has a Super Bowl. He has 3 AFC Championship appearances. Of course, he can get a team to the Super Bowl and through the later rounds of the playoffs. That's just complete hogwash. He's run into some really bad luck, and then also in the playoffs, I mean, there's so many different variables. There's luck involved. There's injuries. There's all these different things that can derail a team's season in a do-or-die situation like the NFL playoffs, that to say a coach chokes time and time again in the playoffs is just completely ridiculous. It's silly. Mike Tomlin consistently puts the Pittsburgh Steelers in a position to win a ring. Does he always do it? No, but sometimes that's just the way the cookie crumbles in the National Football League. Not everybody can be Chuck Noll and just completely dominate a decade, okay? That's extremely difficult to do, and the grass is definitely not greener on the other side. Just ask a number of different franchises that would feel so incredibly lucky to have a guy like Mike Tomlin as their head coach. Let's be honest here, guys. Coach Tomlin is a great leader that gets the most out of his teams year in and year out. We've seen that with the 16 straight winning seasons, which is absolutely incredible. He's cultivated some really great relationships. He's got a good eye for talent. He's got a good eye for developing talent. And he's also a great defensive mind that puts his players in positions to succeed. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today's show. But first, before we go here, make sure you answer this question on Mike Tomlin. Is Coach T a top 5 head coach in the National Football League? Give me a yes or give me a no down in the comment section. I want to hear what you guys think about Mike Tomlin as the Steelers head coach. All right, now, go ahead and click that subscribe button for me if you haven't already, because if you made it through the end of the video here, you are a real one, and we must be doing something right, all right? We must be doing something right if you're still here many minutes later into the video, so make sure you click that subscribe button for me. Turn on your notifications as well so you never miss any of our great Steelers content for free here on YouTube.